as I said, there are inspirational people coming into us throughout the morning. We've got some great guests in the last hour. And this weekend, Bank Holiday weekend, which we give the thumbs up to, but it is also the Richard Harris International Film Festival weekend. And Zeb Moore, who is the festival director, is with us in the studio, as is Richard Harris' son, the actor, Jarid Harris. You're both very welcome, gents.
Thank you
very much for joining us this morning. We appreciate it. Have you already got things underway?
We did. We started yesterday evening in conjunction with the Limerick Writers' Centre, and we unveiled a commemorative plaque to Richard Harris inside Charlie St. George's Bar, but I understand it's going to be presented outside now.
It's part of the literary walk, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
He would have liked that.
I think that was about as far as he would have walked. His walk would have stopped there.
Mad World, Mad Men, and in it you played the quintessential Englishman Lance Price, didn't you?
Lane Price, yes. Yeah. I did, yes. He was a... basically the idea behind the character is he was somebody who came to America initially to do this this temporary job for the company in terms of getting it ship-shape, if you like. But he fell in love with America, and he fell in love with the opportunity and the idea that you can reinvent yourself, which of course is a theme of the whole series. And he didn't want to leave, so he jumped ship and he joins the company, you know, and helps them to break away from their English masters.
What was it like working in that series? Because it became such a phenomenon.
Sure, yeah. And by the time I started on it, it was already massive. And it's quite rare that you get those opportunities where you're working on something where everybody knows that it's something that has that big of an impact in the culture. So you're aware that you're working on something that's special, you know, a little bit cool. And it's when you tell people what you're working on, they're excited to know what's going to happen, you know. And the scripts were incredible. I mean, I miss, having worked on many things since then, I miss knowing that you didn't have to worry about anything. Every single department was top notch, and that all came from Matt Weiner. That's what he wanted, and he would encourage people to present him with good ideas, you know. So there was a collaboration in that sense, but it absolutely, the buck stopped with him, and he had a sense of his perfection and of what he wanted, that people came to understand that the quality that he was expecting of everybody.
Did you get involved behind the scenes of Mad Men at one?
I directed an episode, yeah.
How different is that?
What impressed me about that was the two things. The amount of preparation that goes into everything. There's a good 2 to 3 weeks of meetings about every single thing that is going to appear on screen. Hours and hours and hours of conversation and deliberation over what kind of... if a fruit bowl features in one of the scenes, what kind of fruit bowl is it? And you present Matt with 4 different options. Is it this one? I mean, it's everything is deliberated over. And then the other thing, of course, which I knew but didn't really appreciate, is how hard the crew works. You worked either 13 or 14-hour day every day, and that's on set. So that doesn't include. You know, your day obviously starts before then, but it's a 14-hour shoot day was fairly normal.
Wow, that really is hard work. And of course, your career's been so varied on stage and the big screen too. You know?
Thank you.
Yeah. Zeb, how important is it to have the family, and Jared especially, backing the Richard Harris International Film Festival here in Limerick?
Well, obviously, we're delighted. The festival is now running. This is its 3rd year, and I think the significant difference for this year is that Jared and Heyman Harris have come on to the board of directors, and it's vitally important for the longevity of the festival as well.
Was it always in the genes for you? Were you always going in that direction yourself?
No, not really. I didn't know what I wanted to do. It was mostly when I went to America. I went to Duke University, and I was curious about it, but also nervous about it. And I thought, well, I'll audition for one play, and if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, I'll never think about it again. And I auditioned for, it was a Agatha Christie murder mystery, and I got in. And actually, years later, when I Shot Andy Warhol was premiering in New York, and my then director was now living in New York for my first play, so I brought him along as a guest for the red carpet. And somebody finally asked the question. He goes, "Oh, so you were the director who cast him in his first play? Here he is, a big premiere, title character. He must be very proud of him." "Oh, yes, I am. He goes, "So you must have seen something in him all those years ago." And he goes, "Not really. No, it wasn't like I saw any great talent or anything. I was doing an English play, and I needed someone to keep an eye on the accents."
Well, work is work, as they say.
I thought that was hysterical. I said, "Say it all the way up the line to everybody." That's great.
Our colleague Len Deneen, who will be with us later, tells great stories about your dad when Len was playing with London Irish in the 60s, and your dad turning up sometimes with Peter O'Toole.
Sure.
He loved the slag and the crack, and he loved coming back here, and he almost seemed to relish the kind of Limerick abuse that used to be dished out in his direction, and he'd give back.
I'm sure he would give back, yes. He wasn't shy in retiring at all. Yeah.
No better man in that respect. Zeb, film here, and we know the artistic community here does amazing work because we have them in all the time. We've Troy Studios, of course, coming now to Castle Troy, and the film festival going from strength to strength. So give us a sense of what's going to happen this weekend.
Well, we're delighted. This year has seen us expand into a 4-day event. Last year it was only 3 days. Also this year, for the first time, has seen us open a submission process internationally. So I think we drew in well over 120 submissions this year from all over the world, and we're delighted that we're now bringing in these filmmakers from all over the world. We have people coming in from Thailand, California, Germany, Australia, all this weekend. It's fantastic.
Yesterday in the studio we had Ronan Cassidy and Joe Mullins, the actor, and they were talking about the shorts, which are at 69 O'Connell Street this weekend, part of the Limerick 2020 bid.
Yeah, absolutely. And I haven't seen either short yet, but we're delighted that we can give these guys the platform to actually screen these bursary short movies. So the lads are screening at 9 o'clock, I think, on Saturday. So we're delighted that we can do that for people, and it's important for Limerick that these filmmakers are given this opportunity, because there's a lot of it. It's quite vibrant at the moment in the city with young filmmakers coming on, and it's important that they get this platform for them to screen their work.
Jared, do you feel a connection to Limerick yourself?
Yes, I mean, I do through my dad. I remember when we were here we used to come for Christmas and stay at the Dromoland Castle quite often, and he would take us, he'd get a big bus and he'd bundle us all into this bus and he'd take us on the tour, the family tour, and he'd point out all the buildings that was where the mill was, this is where, the various stories he had, and the stories about his grandparents and stuff like that. So, it's interesting because you don't really, it takes a long time to get to know your parents, and at a certain point they start to reveal themselves as being, they're people, and they and what their stories are. And my mother wrote a book which was very useful in finding out stories that parents normally don't answer. Tell you, stories that. So it was always good on that side. I could go and read the book. And now, what happened here when you were? But there's a very, very strong connection in a different sense, really, because my father's mother, when she was sick and she had cancer and she was, slowly passing, at that point my mother and father their marriage had fallen apart, and they had just had my elder brother. Myself, my younger brother hadn't come along yet, and the marriage was going to end, and they said, well, we can't tell Millie, her name was, we can't tell Millie because she'll have a fit that we're going to get divorced. So they would stay in different hotels and then meet at the bottom of the street and then come up, and so they were giving us the impression that they were still together. and she took quite a long time to pass, about 6 months, and over that 6 months they fell back in love with each other, and I came along, and then my younger brother came along. So in a sense, I can thank Limerick for being here. I wouldn't exist otherwise.
And Zeb, I think most people in Limerick would acknowledge now that one of the worst mistakes ever made was not to give Richard Harris the freedom of Limerick, and I think we perhaps have learned lessons from that, in that people like Paul O'Connell are getting it in life.
Yeah, it is. Listen, when you see people of significance like that, they deserve that recognition, and I think it's important, and it's nice now, with the festival in Richard's name, and the the international recognition that we're receiving now is massive, and only in its third year. So we could never have expected it to be this large, this quickly. Now, in saying that, I don't mean it's large. We still try and keep it to a very boutique style of festival. We're very welcoming to everybody, and and it's important that it's also, the festival is for the city. It's for
Yes.
people to enjoy.
Yes.
And it's important that Limerick embraces that and comes out and supports us as well.
I think Dad, he wasn't upset about the thing about the freedom of the city, because he basically assumed he had the freedom of every city that he was in. But I think that he would love what this was happening, and the most effective way of explaining to people about who you are as a people is through culture. And if you think about what we know of other civilizations or through history, it's always through culture. So the culture of a city, the culture of a people is the most important thing, and it's the thing that endures. I think that he would love the idea that this thing has been named around him, but it isn't about him. It's about Limerick, and it's about Ireland.
Would you have enjoyed trooping around Wales and England over the last few weeks watching the rugby? up to last Sunday.
I think yes. I think he would have. I mean, he would have enjoyed it. I mean, every fan gets their heart broken. Only one team wins in the end. And I think the most important thing is that you play well, you play with passion, you play with pride, and you leave everything on the field. And that's the most important part. And then you get back up, and then you fight again. So,
before we finish, how good an actor was Richard Harris?
I think he was a phenomenal actor. I mean, I was fortunate enough to see him on stage many times. He had a different persona on stage that he had on screen. He was a massive personality, and you have to contain that for the camera, because you have to. The camera, acting on camera is what's the word? It's it's an inward-looking device, if you like. So you've got to be, you restrain and you allow it to discover you. So he was incredibly successful at that, but he was also one of the few people I've ever seen on stage who just the second he walked on stage occupied all the oxygen in that room, and it was incredibly exciting to watch.
Zeb, details then for what's happening is available online?
Yeah, available online. You can go onto the Richard Harris website, Richard Harris International Film Festival.ie or .com. And also you can book online with the line3theatre.ie. We've got some fantastic material over the weekend, and we're looking at European premieres on Saturday and Sunday. And we're delighted that tonight is our big night. Tonight is our gala event, and we're welcoming guests from all over the world. So there should be a great buzz around the city tonight.
Okay, and you're welcome, basically, is your message to people listening this morning to enjoy themselves over the weekend. And that's how Richard would have wanted, I think. Listen, great to meet you, Jarid Harris.
Thank you very much.
Zeb, great to see you again.
Thank you.
And well done to you and the team for the fantastic work that's been done with the Richard Harris Film Festival happening this weekend in his hometown. He would have enjoyed that.